that Greeks just assumed that human beings were always around, that human beings are in fact so important that there was never a stage when they didn't exist. It's still something of a mystery.
I like to think that Greek myth reflects a certain understanding by the Greeks of humans' place in the world, that humans are not the center of things, that there's a whole wealth of the created world into which humans have to fit. This is a great contrast with a number of other cultures and belief systems.
Después del nacimiento de los dioses, la mitología griega cuenta distintas historias de la creación del hombre. En ninguna de ellas, los comienzos del hombre son favorables.
We lived like ants in the ground, and we couldn't read, and we didn't know the seasons, and we didn't know the weather, and we couldn't think, and we couldn't hear. We were just despicable worms, and worth despising.
En la versión de Homero de la creación de los humanos, el dios Prometeo fabricó al primer hombre de arcilla y le insufló vida. En la historia de Hesíodo, Zeus creó sucesivas razas de hombres, de oro, plata, bronce y hierro. Tal parece que cada raza simbolizaba aspectos distintos de la condición humana. La primera raza era hecha de oro. Sus vidas eran fáciles y sus cosechas abundantes. Ellos literalmente se regocijaban con los dioses.
In the beginning, there was a golden age, and people lived on the earth, and all the crops grew of their own accord, and everybody was good, and everybody was just. And those people, after a while, just disappeared.
La raza de oro parecía vivir una existencia perfecta en algo similar al paraíso. Y sin embargo, esta raza se extinguió sin explicación. En la historia bíblica del paraíso, las dificultades de la vida son vistas como un resultado de la caída en desgracia de Adán y Eva en el jardín del Edén. Para la raza de oro de la mitología griega, no hay explicación para su desaparición. La razón de su destino continúa siendo un misterio.
The Greek system, in which humans and their creation are not really a topic of concern, is so different from what you find in Genesis, where we have this focus on the creation of the first man. Of course, in Genesis, it's related to the further story, what happened after the first man and woman disobeyed God. In Greek myth, disobeying the gods is not such a big deal as it is in Genesis.
So why doesn't Hesiod have an answer, or why doesn't Hesiod give an answer to why the golden race came to an end with the Judeo-Christian myth of the fall from the Garden of Eden? Because that clearly was the fault of Adam and Eve. And what that means is there is no really good explanation for why the world is so difficult now, why humans can't have an easy time.
Después de que la raza de oro se extinguió, Zeus fabricó hombres de plata, pero esta raza no evolucionó por completo.
The Silver Age people were babies forever, and then they had this short period of maturity, and then they had a horrible old age. And they disappeared under the earth. They were more arrogant and did not worship the gods sufficiently.
A continuación, vinieron los hombres de bronce, quienes se exterminaron a sí mismos a través de guerras constantes. Finalmente, la raza de hombres que aún vive hoy en día es, aparentemente, la de los hombres de hierro.
So basically, this story of degeneration has moved to the present age, where actually it shows a balance in these various views of the important things in life for the Greeks, namely your attitudes to the gods and your attitudes towards warfare and fighting for your city-state, and how you can get along or not get along with each other.
Curiosamente, todas estas historias hablan de la creación de solo la mitad de la raza humana, el hombre. La mujer fue creada como una aflicción, como castigo, y todo a causa de un truco.
The first woman was sent to the earth as a punishment to mankind. Now, this sounds incredibly misogynistic, and it was an incredibly misogynistic story on the part of Hesiod, who told this in 700 BC. But the story goes that one of the gods, Prometheus, tried to trick the master and king of all the cosmos, Zeus.
Prometheus is a trickster god. He's a smart god. Prometheus means forethought. He killed a sheep, and he took the sheep, and he took all the good, wonderful meat, and he put it inside the disgusting belly. And he took all the bare bones, and he wrapped them up in the beautiful white shining fat, which is, of course, what burns in a sacrifice. And he presented these two bundles to Zeus, and he said, "You pick."
Zeus supo que había sido engañado por Prometeo, que representa la raza humana. En venganza, Zeus castigó al hombre quitándole el fuego. Prometeo se robó el fuego y se lo devolvió a la humanidad.
And by stealing and giving men this gift of fire, he was therefore punished indirectly by having a woman created who was given to human beings. Now, Zeus didn't just sort of give this evil thing, as he thought, to mankind. He called it a beautiful evil.
She's one you can't do without. She's a kalon kakon in the terms of the Greek, a beautiful bad thing. And so Greek myth, Greek poetry likes to have it both ways. Women are beautiful. Women are something irresistible. At the same time, women make you work. And so they're a bad thing.
I do think that throughout Greek mythology, you see a repeated emphasis on the threat that women pose. The threat they pose because of your need for them, the need to have children, and the very real fear of losing control because of desire. Overwhelming feminine sexuality threatens men.
Zeus no le dio al hombre cualquier mujer. De hecho, él les dio a los hombres una kalon kikon, una hermosa maldad. Su nombre es Pandora, y ella llegó con una caja llena de males para esparcir por el mundo. Cuando regresemos, ¿por qué la esperanza está en la caja de Pandora? La primera mujer de la mitología griega es Pandora, y su historia se asemeja a la de Eva y el fruto prohibido en el jardín del Edén. A Pandora le dieron una caja y le dijeron que no la abriera, pero ella de todos modos lo hizo, soltando todos los males del mundo, todas las enfermedades, dolores, sufrimientos y penas. Demasiado tarde, ella cerró la caja dejando solo algo, la esperanza. Pero, ¿qué estaba haciendo la esperanza en la caja de Pandora llena de maldad?
Hope is there as an evil, which is, I think, fascinating. Hope is an evil because hope allows you to act with the sense that you can control the future. And in Hesiod, that is a very dangerous thing to do. You can't control the future, and it's to act under a delusion.
Is hope something good or something bad? And the Greeks loved this kind of dilemma because hope could be good, could be bad, and so it was ambiguously left back in the jar for humans to use or to avoid.
Pandora es quizás el más prominente, pero no el único ejemplo de mujeres como fuente de maldad en la mitología griega. Algunos estudiosos encuentran un significado más profundo del menosprecio de las mujeres y apuntan a Afrodita, la diosa del amor.
If you look at the myths of Aphrodite, who is the most beautiful and the most sexually desirable thing ever, men are afraid of her. She sees a man, a human being, Anchises, on a hill outside of Troy, and she wants to sleep with him. And she goes to him, and he says, "You are too beautiful to be a human. You must be a goddess, and I don't want to sleep with you." And she says, "Oh no, I'm just a maiden from the neighborhood." They go to bed together, and when he wakes up, she's become her goddess self. And he's terrified. He's terrified he's going to be emasculated, that he'll lose his strength.
En contraste, los griegos antiguos creían que Atenea, una diosa sin papel sexual, es una gran fuerza del bien.
Athena is the protector. Athena is the warrior divinity who leads the just defense war. She is the city goddess, and in many respects, the most important divinity the Athenians have. And that might be true for many other cities where you have an Acropolis with the Temple of Athene on top.
En consecuencia, el mundo de los dioses y las diosas griegas no es simplemente una colección de pintorescas historias, sino una ventana a una civilización antigua, a sus pensamientos y sus valores.
The kind of nonlinear thinking that you see in myths, the sort of narratives that leap all around, that introduce strange creatures, look a lot like dreams. And so the question, I think, is whether Greek myths are somehow the collective unconsciousness of Greek civilization at an early period.
Ya fuera de modo consciente o inconsciente, los dioses estaban muy presentes en la vida diaria de los antiguos griegos.
In each of the mountains, in each of the plants, in each of the emotions they felt that there was a God in control behind this.
One of the attractive and unusual things about Greek religion from the beginning is its responsiveness to environment. There are nymphs, for example, who inhabit watery places. There are nymphs of the mountains, nymphs of the trees. There's an acknowledgement that rivers are a kind of religious force. And Greek religion in this way has a certain affiliation with modern ecology, the recognition that individual places have a value, a kind of numinous quality, a sacred quality.
The Greeks had particular terms for sacred. In fact, they had several terms for sacred. One of them is hieros. And hieros means that it belongs to the gods. In fact, the Greek word for religion is ta hiera, the sacred things.
Y de ese modo, las historias en la mitología griega eran utilizadas para explicar un mundo frecuentemente difícil y azaroso. El invierno nació cuando Perséfone, la hija de la diosa Demeter, fue raptada por el dios Hades, quien la llevó al mundo subterráneo para hacerla su esposa.
Demeter was horrendously upset to have lost her daughter and began searching the world looking for her daughter. Couldn't find her daughter, wept, cried, crops didn't grow, hence the gods weren't getting sacrificed. So finally, some gods went to Zeus and said, you know, you've got to get Persephone back so her mother makes the crops grow so we get our sacrifices and all the people don't die.
Finalmente, a Perséfone se le permite regresar con su madre, pero solo con una condición. Cada año, Perséfone debe pasar 3 meses con Hades. Durante este periodo, su madre Demeter, diosa de la agricultura, queda inconsolable y en consecuencia cada año los campos son arrasados con el frío invierno. De este modo, las mayores crueldades de la vida eran explicadas. Las dificultades personales, sin embargo, eran frecuentemente explicadas por alguna ofensa contra los dioses. Aquellos que ofendían a los dioses eran castigados, no por las autoridades terrenales, sino por las propias divinidades.
There's a Greek word, in fact, desidaimonia, which means fear of the gods or respect for the gods. And this was a positive thing. Life was felt to be fairly precarious, and you needed to do everything you could.